Ever feel like you're on a treadmill,
Yeah.
Work, errands, chores, it never ends. It's so easy to get caught up in just like getting through the day.
Yeah.
But shouldn't we be, well, actually living?
Yeah, you're so right. Everywhere we turn, it's all about productivity and hustle and, I don't know. We end up putting our own well-being last. But when we neglect those things that bring us joy, well, that's a one-way ticket to Burnout City.
And that's exactly why we're diving into something we don't talk about enough, hobbies. And all those little side quests we pick up along the way, it's like
Ah.
we've decided fun is a luxury, not something we need.
It's almost like we've completely forgotten how to have fun as adults. We get so serious. But hobbies and those side quests, they're not just frivolous. They're essential for a good life.
It's true. I love that, thinking of them like side quests,
Yeah.
because sometimes they really do feel like these little adventures that add so much to life.
Exactly. It's like there are these secret weapons to fight stress and burnout. Think about it. When you're doing something you enjoy, your mind isn't focused on all those worries. You get into that flow state where
Yeah.
time just flies by, and it's just what you need to feel better, both mentally and emotionally.
I love that analogy of secret weapons. It's easy to think of hobbies as, frivolous when we're stressed,
Mm,
but they're so powerful.
they really are.
So we know they're important, but how do we actually make time for them? Our lives are so packed, I can already hear it. I don't have time.
Uh-huh. It's the classic excuse, right? But honestly, I really believe most of us can find 20, even 30 minutes each day. It might mean changing up our routine a little. Could you wake up a bit earlier? Or maybe shorten that lunch break? Or even combine a hobby with something you already do?
Oh, that's a good idea. Instead of scrolling through my phone while I wait for an appointment, I could be writing in my journal or listening to that language learning app. It's all about being intentional with the little pockets of time, right?
Exactly. And you know what? Even those small chunks of time can make a big difference. Imagine reading just one chapter of a book each day. Or spending, I don't know, 10 minutes practicing an instrument. Over time, those minutes really do add up.
They really do. Okay, so we've tackled the time excuse. But what about money? Some hobbies can get pretty expensive, right?
It's true, some can. But there are so many amazing hobbies that are free or really low cost. Hiking, drawing, writing, and libraries. Libraries are a gold mine for free classes and workshops. We just have to change our perspective a bit. Remember, fun doesn't have to break the bank.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And speaking of changing our perspective, I think another big hurdle is, well, the fear of not being good at something.
Mm.
We get so caught up in this idea of mastering a skill that we forget hobbies should be about, enjoyment.
It's like we've completely forgotten how to just be a beginner. We're all about being perfect these days, but we're missing the whole point. Think about it. Remember learning to ride a bike? You probably fell a bunch of times, but you just kept getting back on.
It's so true. Oh, and I remember wanting to quit guitar when I first started. My fingers were all clumsy. The chords sounded terrible.
But you stuck with it. And that's something I've always admired about you. You seem so open to trying new things.
Oh, well, I wasn't always like that.
Mm.
Actually, I used to be so scared of trying new things. I was terrified of failing or looking silly, so I'd avoid anything that felt even a little bit challenging.
I think a lot of people can relate to that, though. It's so easy to overthink things. You get in your head, worry about what other people will think, and you forget about the simple joy of trying something new.
Yeah, it's like we've built all these walls around ourselves.
Exactly. And the only way to break down those walls is to take that first step, even if it feels a bit scary. To be okay with the possibility of, maybe looking silly or making mistakes or being a beginner again.
I remember when I signed up for a pottery class a few years ago. I had this vision in my head. Beautiful, perfectly formed vases.
Ooh, pottery. How did that turn out?
Let's just say my first attempt looked more like a lumpy potato than a vase. But you know what? I had so much fun getting my hands dirty, trying all those different techniques, and just laughing at myself when things went wrong. And that's when it hit me. The real joy wasn't in the final product, it was in the process.
And isn't that a great lesson? We get so fixated on the outcome, the perfect cake or the flawless performance or that Instagram-worthy craft, that we forget to just enjoy the journey.
The messy, imperfect, sometimes hilarious journey.
Exactly. And that's where the real magic happens, in those moments when we're experimenting and discovering and just having pure, unadulterated fun. So we've busted all those myths about hobbies, not enough time, not enough money, not good enough. So where do we even begin? If you're feeling all inspired, but also overwhelmed by all the possibilities?
Right. It's like staring at a menu with way too many choices. Where do you even start?
Think of it like dating. You wouldn't marry the first person you meet, right? You go on some dates, you get to know them. It's the same with hobbies.
So a try before you commit approach to hobbies. I love that.
Exactly. Pick something, anything, that sparks your interest and just try it. Commit to exploring it for like a week
Mm.
or even a month. See if it clicks. If it doesn't, no big deal. Move on to something else.
That really takes the pressure off. It's
Yeah.
not about finding the one hobby that you'll do forever. It's about enjoying the process of trying new things.
Exactly. And you never know. You might discover something you never even imagined you'd enjoy. That's the fun part. You just never know what hidden talents or passions you'll uncover.
It's like those side quests in video games. Sometimes they lead to the best treasures. But let's say you have found a hobby you love. How do you actually make it a regular part of your life? When things get busy.
It's about making it a part of your routine. And that starts with scheduling.
Oh,
I know, we talked about this a bit earlier, but it's so important. Don't just think about finding the time, actually block it off on your calendar.
like a meeting with your most important client, yourself.
You got it. And treat that time with the same respect you treat a deadline at work. Really protect that time because this is your time. Time to recharge, reconnect with what brings you joy.
And I think there's something to be said about the social aspect too, right?
Yeah,
I know I'm much more likely to stick with something if I have friends doing it with me.
absolutely. That's another key piece. Creating a supportive environment. Join a club, take a class, find an accountability buddy, someone who shares your interest and can cheer you on.
Yes. Like having a built-in cheering section. Even just texting a friend and saying, hey, I'm going for a run later, want to join, can make such a difference.
It really can. Those little nudges go a long way. And don't forget to celebrate the small wins. Every time you make progress, no matter how tiny, acknowledge it. Did you finally finish that knitting project? Or master that tricky guitar chord? Celebrate it.
It's true. We're so focused on the finish line that we forget to enjoy all those little victories along the way, which can be so motivating.
They really are. They keep us going.
Mhm.
And, it's important to remember that life, it's not a straight line. There will be weeks when you just don't have as much time for your hobbies.
Oh, absolutely. Life happens. Sometimes work deadlines pile up or family stuff takes over.
And that's okay. The key is to be flexible. Maybe instead of a full hour, you can squeeze in 15 minutes here and there. Or maybe switch gears and try a different hobby, one that fits your energy level at that moment.
So it's finding that balance, right, between
Yeah.
commitment and flexibility.
Exactly. Be kind to yourself, listen to what you need, and remember, this is about joy, not another thing to stress about and add to your to-do list.
So before we move on, let's do a quick recap. To really make hobbies stick, schedule the time, find your cheerleaders,
Your support system.
right, your support system, celebrate those little wins, and be flexible.
Yes, I love it. You summed it up perfectly. But most importantly, don't be afraid to experiment. Try new things, even if they seem a little out there. Get outside that comfort zone.
That's where the real adventure begins, right?
Yeah.
You never know what you might discover about yourself and the world around you.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And those discoveries, they really do make life so much richer.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about making time for hobbies, finding ones we love, and sticking with them. But I think it's time to kind of zoom out a bit, and look at the bigger picture. Why are these hobbies, these side quests, why are they so important for a truly fulfilling life?
Ooh, I love that question. It really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Because hobbies aren't just about, filling up our free time. They're about feeding our souls
Yeah.
and becoming the best versions of ourselves.
It's about way more than just checking things off a to-do list, isn't it?
Right. Think about those moments when you're totally lost in a hobby. Like you completely lose track of time, you're just present, and you feel this sense of deep satisfaction. That's not just about having fun, it's about tapping into something deeper, a sense of meaning, a purpose.
It's like you're totally in sync with yourself, like that flow state we talked about,
Yeah.
and that positive energy. It kind of spills over into other parts of your life.
It really does. It's like
Mm.
our relationships become more vibrant, our work becomes more meaningful, we start approaching challenges with more creativity, more resilience. It's like those hobbies unlock all these hidden reserves of energy and inspiration.
It's like watering a plant. When you nurture your passions, your interests, you're nourishing your whole being.
And that nourishment lets you blossom, but it's important to remember this isn't a destination. It's a journey. And there will be, detours, unexpected turns along the way. There will be times when you doubt yourself, when you're not sure if you're on the right path.
Yeah, those moments when you think, wait, am I doing this right?
But that's all part of the process. The important thing is to embrace the journey. Keep exploring, stay curious, and never stop asking yourself that question. What lights me up?
I love that. It's about trusting that even those detours, those wrong turns, they can lead to amazing discoveries.
Mhm.
And those little aha moments, that's what makes life so rich and exciting.
You're so right. And I think it's also important to remember that this pursuit of joy and fulfillment, it's not just a selfish thing. It's actually a gift we give to the world.
Now that's an interesting thought. How so?
Well, think about it. When we're living authentically, when we're energized by our passions, that positive energy, it spreads. We become more compassionate, more understanding, more engaged with the people around us, and we inspire others to do the same.
It's like this chain reaction of positivity. One person's joy can spark joy in others.
Exactly, I really believe that. And that's why it's so important to me to encourage people to embrace their hobbies, their side quests. It's not just about personal happiness, it's about creating a more joyful and vibrant world for everyone.
That's a beautiful thought and a really powerful message to end on. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of hobbies, I want to leave our listeners with a little challenge. What's one hobby, one side quest that you've always wanted to try?
Take a minute, close your eyes if you want,
Yeah.
and just picture yourself taking that first step. Maybe it's signing up for that dance class, or dusting off that old guitar, or finally starting that blog you've been dreaming of.
What's one small action you can take today to add a little more joy, a little more creativity, a little more purpose into your life?
Don't let fear hold you back. The world is waiting to see all your unique gifts and talents.
And remember, we're here cheering you on every step of the way. Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep playing.
Cheers to a life full of joy, adventure, and all those amazing possibilities that come from embracing those side quests.